Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. This episode is sponsored by Debonair Cigars. Oh, do you have the video? We have the video. We have the video queued up. We're a little more smooth about that, but Debonair has a really cool commercial. So we're gonna stay tuned for this very short commercial break. This is the part where I'm supposed to fill until we can cue the commercial. So now I'm filling time talking about...
We're going to be doing some cool things with around Debonair in the next few weeks, and I think the Stogie Geeks audience is real excited.
Like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind.
And I tell you what, that last shot right there of that sexy woman smoking the Debonair cigar, that is just dead sexy. That makes me want to smoke Debonair right there.
You know, Phil, I know he was considering one of us for the lead man in that, but I don't think we made the cut. You know?
I don't think so.
Unfortunately.
Fortunately not. Maybe next time. Maybe the next commercial we convince Phil. So, Will, what have you been smoking?
Oh, I've been smoking quite a bit lately. It was one of those weeks, like I said, it just seemed like I smoked quite a bit, and it actually seemed like today, in general, I actually smoked a lot. But the one cigar I kind of kept going back to this week was the EP Carrillo 5th anniversary, and I actually ended up getting a box of these. And this is EP Carrillo's latest limited edition. They're doing it, obviously, the name to celebrate their 5th anniversary. And I can't believe it's 5 years since Ernesto Perez Carrillo launched the company. But it's 5 years right around now. So instead of doing a limitada, they did a 5th anniversary blend. Blend was really cool when I looked at it because it had some tobaccos that were just kind of really... I was interested in. It had an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, which is an EPC staple, or it's a staple of Ernesto's. It has an Ecuadorian Corojo 99 binder, which it seems like this year Ernesto's using that Ecuadorian Corojo in a lot of blends. There's a new inch that's using that. So, I mean, he's using that on a couple of other limited editions, and it's got Nicaraguan filler. He's calling it a double Robusto at 6.5 by 54. And here's the thing: the price point was $8.50. And I just thought it was a solid cigar through and through. It's just one of those cigars where you want to have a really nice special cigar. You don't want to break the bank. It did a lot of things good. It had a lot of nice natural tobacco flavor. It tasted like a cigar, I guess it should taste. It had a little bit of coffee notes in there. It had a little bit of those oak wood type notes. Towards the end, it was really weird. I smoked it. And I don't mean this as a negative. I actually thought it was cool. It had this little bit of a banana sweetness at the end of it, which I kind of, towards the end of the cigar, which I was kind of surprised that the sweetness was coming out like that. I thought, again, it was an excellent cigar. I went to it. I bought a box, and I've gone through about half the box this week because I just liked it. $8.50, I had it as a box-worthy cigar. Have you smoked this yet, Paul?
I have. I smoked one last Friday. I thought it was good. I thought it could use a little bit of time. It didn't have the overwhelming awesome flavors that I get from a lot of his other limited releases, to be honest with you. I think a little bit of age and these things are going to be absolutely outstanding. I'd say they're box-worthy even just from what I smoked.
Yeah, and I had one coming out of the show, and I would definitely agree with that point, that it probably could use a little bit of time with that. But what I also thought was interesting about the cigar is it was a little stronger than your typical EPC profile. I mean, it was up towards that full, and it had more strength and more body than I've seen out of anything come out of Ernesto in a while. Although it's not going to assault the palate and knock you down flat either.
Right. No, I agree.
Yep.
I smoked the Room 101 Payback. This is a 60 ring gauge cigar. Well, I don't know if we've talked about this cigar on the show before.
Mark Jr. might have talked about it once.
Yeah. There's a story behind this cigar, right? The
Yep,
name.
yep, there is.
Is that the whole what is the story behind it?
Well, basically, so Matt Booth, it's hard to believe he's got 14 blends out now. I
Yeah.
mean, this company has really matured. But what he didn't have is he didn't have a Nicaraguan puro. He didn't have something that was geared more towards big ring gauges. And he wrote when he announced this cigar, over the past few years, the Room 101 brand has come to be a success in a myriad of dimensions. Now I propose we give back to those who helped us get there in the first place. The cigars in this series are priced well below where they should be. This is a payback of different sorts. My payback to you for the support and dedication over the years. That's the official,
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
say it, that's the official
Right.
statement that was released.
That's
But
not
it
the whole
is a
story.
economically priced cigar. And you smoked the 60 ring gauge?
Excuse me. Yeah. I smoked the 60 ring. Um, I thought it was good. Wasn't a bad cigar by any means. I think that your 60 ring smokers are really going to love this cigar, especially at the price point if it's priced right. I think he's got a niche in the market with it. For me, it was a try one. Try it, see if you like it. It didn't have the dimensions that I look for in a cigar, being the cigar geek that I am.
I smoked that this week too. In fact, I smoked it today. This was the one I smoked today.
Okay.
I smoked it in the Robusto,
Okay.
the 50. Um, I'm gonna kind of agree with you on the standpoint. It wasn't. I've had a lot better cigars by Matt Booth.
Yeah.
In those 14 cigars, and I've had a lot worse cigars than this one. Um, I thought it actually had. I thought it had a decent profile. Again, I paid $4.95 for this cigar, and I got my $4.95
Yeah.
money's worth out of it. It had. I thought the difference with the Robusto, it had a smoother. It was much smoother on the finish. So when you were when you were drawing on the cigar, when the finish came back on your palate, it was very smooth, which I didn't get on the 60.
Yep.
And I had no Paul syndrome problems for a $4.95 cigar either, so I just
That's
wanted to
good.
comment
Yeah.
on
No,
that.
that's a good value for a cigar.
Yeah.
Will, back to you.
Okay. Why don't you do another one? I'll let you do another one first.
So I did the Nestor Miranda Grand Reserve 2012. I did this in random order. This was one that, again, wasn't a bad cigar. Kind of had that, I would say, some earthy notes that were very prominent with a little bit of wood notes mixed in with that. It didn't overwhelm me by any stretch of the imagination. I rated it a try one.
Yeah, so this blend it came out 2 years ago. I thought it aged nicely to start with,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had it recently, and I think it's peaked. And I'm
Interesting.
basically going to agree with you on that. Like a couple years ago, you were getting some of those rich espresso notes. Now it was kind of more of that woodsy, earthy that I got from it. And I thought it lost some. It had a lot more strength a year and a half ago. So it lost. I thought it lost some of its edge. I'd agree with you where you had it as a try one.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That's probably where I'd put it now.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think if I would have smoked it and it had some of those espresso notes in it, it would have added a nice dimension and balance with the earth and wood. But it was kind of somewhat one-dimensional for me, which reflected in its ratings of the try one.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Do you want to go ahead? You do.
I'll go. I can go. Yeah, I'm ready now. So I smoked. I've been really smoking through the Caldwell collection cigars, and this week I focused on the Eastern Standard, and that is the size I smoked was a 7x48 in the Churchill size. It's called the Cream Crush. I kind of like the names he's doing this. I know we've talked about this with the Caldwell cigars. Not only does he put the blend on the box, but he puts the ratios of the tobaccos in there that he's using in the blend. So it's got in the filler, it's got Criollo 98 Viso from the Dominican, which is like a 30%. It's got Corojo Dominicano Ligero 30%. and it's got Nicaraguan Habano Seco 40%. So I really like how he breaks that down. You as the smoker, really, you can just learn about the blend. It's got a Dominican Habano binder from 2005. But the thing that really I think is the thing that's going to stand out on this cigar is this wrapper. It's a Connecticut hybrid Ecuadoriano from 2006 that they call Dark Connecticut. And when I started doing some research, this is so Caldwell's working with Ventura, the Ventura Cigar Factory in the Dominican. And what this factory actually did is they created a hybrid of a Ecuadorian Connecticut shade and a Brazilian Matafina. So you're going to get basically a wrapper it looks almost like a natural wrapper. You would never think it's kind of something, but the cigar I'd say is in the if you were to kind of pigeonhole it, it's still a Connecticut shade cigar in terms of it's going to be milder and it's going to bring some of those traditional things that a Connecticut shade does. Like it's going to bring the creamy notes, the wood, some of the cedar notes. The one thing there were a couple of unique notes I got from this cigar, though. I got a nice lemon flavor from it. And it wasn't that acidic citrus. It was it was like a lemon sweetness. It was subtle. It made this cigar stand out. I also got a little bit of a chestnut note kind of in the background. There was a lot going on with this. And the thing that really stood out with this cigar is I think you smoke a lot of Ecuadorian Connecticut's. It's hard sometimes to find one that's very different than the others. Mm-hmm. This one was different. It also had a little more boldness in terms of the body. I thought it started out medium bodied and it went towards a medium to full in the second half. It had a lot of transitions and complexity and nuances along the way. I've smoked through this and I haven't smoked through every size yet, but right now of the 3 sizes I've smoked, it would probably rank as my belle of the ball here. And I gave it a box worthy. It does have an $11 price point, but it's a quality smoke in a Churchill size. And you can really give this cigar to anybody, I think, whether they are a Connecticut shade fan or not. Mm. Have you smoked this one?
I have not, no.
Yeah, this one you need to smoke. And I'm going to talk about another one, too, but you need to give this one. I'm curious to see what you'll think of it, just because you're the Ecuadorian Connecticut guy.
Sometimes I run out of Ecuadorian Connecticut smokes that I haven't tried, so I'm looking forward to that one. And very early on in the day, I lit this next smoke up because I had essentially run out of Ecuadorian Connecticut's, and you smoked this one, Will, and you spoke very highly of it, which is why I wanted to try it, and that's the La Aroma de Cuba Nobilis.
Oh, yeah.
This was a really, really good cigar. I think it could benefit from some age. Was probably my only critique on it. But the dynamic flavors that this cigar presented and the just whole experience from start to finish was truly fantastic. You could pick up very, very subtle notes of flavors. It was very well balanced in terms of spice with the other different components of the cigar. Again, my only critique is I think with a little bit of age, the smoke is going to be dynamite. I rated it box worthy. I think it has the potential to reach at least a Chuck Norris and potentially Oasis in terms of the way that this smoke is going to age. This is a limited release from La Roma de Cuba, and in my opinion, it's the best smoke that La Roma de Cuba has ever released.
Paul, yeah, I'm going to kind of say you're dead on. I had a box split kind of for the same reason, but my gut is telling me this might be the best cigar of 2014 that came out of my father.
Yeah, for sure.
It is that, and you could see it's got a higher price point. It's $16.
Yeah, it's $16.
But I agree, and I love the Mia Moores, and I think this has all the potential to be that the best cigar. And there's a lot of stuff coming out of my father this year. I know people are raving about some of the stuff out of Tatuaje, my father, Crowned Heads. I'm telling you, this one has all the potential. It hasn't reached its peak yet.
Yeah,
I'm going to agree with you on that.
Cool. Definitely find some of these.
Yeah, like I said, they are limited. I mean, my shop only got one box in, and I've kind of bought a few of them up already.
I don't blame you. Back to you, Will.
So back on the Caldwell, I smoked another Eastern Standard called the Silk Road, which is the 7.5 by 40 Lancero. It's got a $12 price point. The Silk Road was introduced after IPCPR. It was a line extension, and it gave a Lancero size to the Eastern Standard. Um, Overall, what I'm going to say is, I know people are Lancero geeks out there, and we talk about Lanceros. This is a very good cigar. I think it didn't have quite as much of the nice lemon quality. It had a little more of it had much more of a cedar profile. This one, and to me, the same length in that bigger ring gauge with the Cream Crush. So the Cream Crush is 7 inches. This is 7.5 inches, but the extra ring gauge. And I've talked to a few people, and it seems people seem divided on this one. I know some people really like the Lancero better. I'm still going for the I'm still going to go for the Churchill each time with this, but it's still good enough to be a box split. These are going to be more limited from what I understand from Caldwell, so I think there's only going to be like 500 boxes, whether they continue. So, you may want to try to get your hands on these if they're out there.
Sorry, I'm laughing at my own comments in the chat room.
That's okay.
Um, so I smoked a Letelier Lat Torpedo Selection Special. This is a fantastic looking stick. I mean, just the color of the wrapper and some of the veins that are in it, and balanced by that gold and white and black wrapper. It's a really cool looking stick. The flavors were very good. I enjoyed the first half very much so. Good balanced cigar, good flavors. Kind of had that, espresso kind of flavors going on with it. And that is this the Sanctity de Spiritus wrapper, Will?
Yes.
It had that uniqueness to it. Those different. It's tough to say what the flavor components are, but it definitely had that uniqueness of that Sanctity de Spiritus wrapper. Towards the second half, it got a little squishy on me, and I don't know if it was high, which is weird for October here in New England. It was very high humidity when I was smoking it as well, but it got kind of squishy at the end. I rated it a 5. I think that Letelier puts out some fantastic blends, and I encourage our listeners to try, especially these Selection Speciales with the Sanctity Spiritus wrapper on them, as they tend to have a very unique flavor profile.
Yeah, and that has that higher priming one, which is the difference with the Selection Special. And, I think when we went through the original the Corona Gordo that came out,
the
Lat 46, I think we were all in agreement that it needed some time as well. And I know that cigar, when it came out, and a few months later, it started to really come around. I know Mark Jr. and Stogie Santa and I have talked about that. I haven't smoked the Torpedo yet. I'm kind of curious. The only thing is torpedoes sometimes do get squishy on me too.
Yeah.
And under those conditions you said as well.
Right. Back to you, Will.
Okay. I smoked. I just lost my train of thought again. I smoked a cigar by Edgar Hoyle, the Osak in the Caberncito size. So last week I talked about the EH in the Caberncito, which is a 4x44.
Yep.
So this size he brought over to the Osak line, which is a Nicaraguan Puro. It's got a price point about $7.20, so it's a little pricey for a small cigar. And the Osak and the EH, I've smoked them now in back-to-back weeks, and they have some similarities, but they are different cigars. And I think the Osak's going to give you a little more oomph on it. So, the EH, I think, is a little more in the medium to medium plus, and this one's going to be medium plus to more full. It's a Nicaraguan Puro, and it's going to deliver pretty much a classic Nicaraguan Puro flavor profile with earth, cocoa, citrus, a little pepper. I found it was a little more earthy and cocoa early on, and then I thought the spice really kicked in on this little guy in the second half. But I kind of, we were talking about earlier with Gabriel, the short smokes. Nice short smoke. I kind of don't usually like a short smoke for over, a 4-inch cigar for $7, but this is a nice cigar. It burned well. I had it as a 5. Probably the Osak's a little more in my wheelhouse than the EH, but it was a nice cigar. I think it's a nice size for the Osak blend as well.
So I'm going to talk about some Petit Coronas coming up, Will.
Okay.
Probably towards the end. But the next one that I smoked was, and I don't know if you've had these. I was actually going to do this as an unbanded, but I was reaching for something to smoke in my humidor, and I decided just to do this one because I smoked one when I first got them in, and I was really wowed. And then I smoked it this time, and I was really, really wowed. This is an Oliva V Maduro Especial. This is the European edition from 2011. It's a torpedo with, I believe, a Mexican San Andreas wrapper on it. And holy crap, was this cigar awesome. It was equally, if not more awesome than when I first got them in probably a year ago. And you can find these cigars online, probably under the $10 mark to get these cigars. And the amount of value you get in this cigar is just unbelievable. The strength is amped down on this V blend for the European market, and all that flavor just comes through. And this cigar was all about flavor. And it's not those deep, rich, kind of very powerful flavors that you get from the regular Oliva V cigars. It's more kind of subtle flavors, some sweetness mixed in with that. It's not as much of a really like dark chocolate espresso flavor. This blend lightens it up a little bit, and it's just fantastic, Will. Fantastic. I think I rated this. Yeah, this is a fight Chuck Norris for him. I mean, this was like, it was bordering on Oasis for me, Will. That's how much I enjoyed this cigar.
So basically, question. So the 2011 that was released in the U.S. was a Toro. This was a Europe, and in 2010 was a torpedo. So this was one. This European one was a different one they did for 2011.
Yeah, it's a different one. A different one they did special for the European market.
And how did I mean? So it was a little more amped down, you said, but it had more flavor. Would you say?
Way more flavor. Way more. A different kind of flavor profile, but I found the flavors to be more balanced. Excuse me, more complex. And just like a sweeter flavor profile, like some more sweetness mixed in with the blend than some of that like coffee and dark chocolate, which almost has like a little bit of a bitterness component to it. That was completely removed, so you got all of those sweet flavors that replaced that. Well, I'm telling you, these things are awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I actually just did a quick Google. Yep, and they did do and you can find them online.
You can still find them online. ATL, who's in the chat room right now, turned me on to these, and it pointed me out to. Well, I won't give away too much, but he told me where to get them, and I ordered a box. And I tell you what, I might be ordering another box because they're that special and that fantastic. They're just awesome.
Wow, and you had it as a Chuck Norris?
I had it as a fight Chuck Norris for him, dude.
Wow.
Like, these are really, really good.
I got to keep an eye out for that one.
This might be my favorite Oliva, maybe one of my favorite Olivas. This might be one of the best cigars Oliva's ever produced, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm serious. It's that good. I'll send you one of these. And I want to see what you think about it because I think you're going to rate it very, very high.
Wow. No, I'm looking forward to that.
I put my full recommendation behind this one, Will.
No, I believe it. I believe it.
ATL doesn't steer you wrong, man.
No. If he's saying it, we know it's quality.
Yeah.
We don't disagree much. Although I did notice ATL had a little bit of a problem this week. He pulled some cigar out of the humidor, and he said it must have came from your humidor.
He did. What did he pull? A Barclay Rex out or something? And he swore it came from my humidor because he had some construction problems with it.
Oh.
We were talking about that. Yeah, some of those guys, we get together on the Google Plus hangout and we have cigars and just it's nice. We don't talk about work. We don't talk about politics too much. We just kind of hang out and smoke cigars. And we were talking about the Barclay Rex somehow. We end up getting these discussions on where to find some of these hard-to-find cigars, and that cigar came up. And I said, yeah, I have a couple left, and he said he did too. So we decided to smoke one. So it's cool. Back to you, Will.
Okay, this one was my smoke of the week. and it's a cigar that I got to thank Dave Garofalo from Two Guys Smoke Shop and the Cigar Authority for sending me this cigar. He had sent me this. He had sent me a bunch of cigars made by a company called Selected Tobacco that his United Retailers Group is now distributing. And I think folks may have heard of some of these cigars. There's one that's really good called the Atabey. Have you heard of the Atabey?
No, I have not.
Okay, Atabey is a really special cigar. I smoked it a few months ago. This is a cigar called the Byron Siglo 20 Londinenses, which the cigar Byron, it's named for a guy called Lord Byron, who was actually better known as George Gordon Byron, who was a renowned English poet. And what happened is this cigar was made by Nelson Alfonso, who owns the company Selected Tobacco. His great grandfather originally created a cigar in Cuba called the Lord Byron. Now Nelson's doing his own thing, and he decided to kind of resurrect the brand, so to speak. These cigars from Selected Tobacco don't come cheap, and this was a $30 cigar, so it is a pricey cigar. And there's no doubt that price is going to come into this. But what was really unique about this cigar is it's packaged in something called a humitube. And I have some pictures in the Stogie feed of this humitube, it's great. It's reusable. It's a humidification tube. So you put a little bit of humidification fluid in the footer, and it really. I happen to have this cigar. Dave sent me these cigars back in June, so I was a little late in getting to them. But I tell you, they smoked really, really good. The cigar just had a unbelievable flavor profile. It had this sweet sugar cane, but it had this tobacco taste to it too. Is the best way to put it. It changes up. It's got a little bit of a fruit flavor that comes into it as well. Really, it's a cigar that's in the medium plus range, so it's not going to overpower you. And if folks who have smoked the Atabays, which is another brand by this company, that's a much more milder cigar. This cigar is going to be, I think, more in a lot of people's wheelhouses, where I think that Atabey, if you don't dig mild cigars, you're not going to dig the Atabey, but this Byron kind of really goes in there. Look, it's a cigar that, you know what, it's a nice special occasion cigar. I'd still fight Chuck Norris for it, but the nice thing about it is I get the cigar. I get a couple of cigars that I can reuse the tubes afterwards, which are really nice. And they're a cigar I give to someone as a gift as well. Who's a connoisseur that really, if you're a connoisseur and you appreciate this cigar, this is a good cigar here. Definitely worth checking out. And just want to give thanks to Dave Garofalo again for giving me the opportunity to smoke that. That was a really good cigar.
Very cool. Let's see, what else do I have on my list? Sorry, I lost my notes here. La Flor Dominicana Robusto. This was a vintage one. It's actually the Robusto that comes in this 3-pack of La Flor Dominicana cigars. It comes with a cutter and a lighter. I got it at the Mr. J Savannah Smoke Shop tent sale. This is a very good cigar. These older La Flors have this like graham cracker kind of sweetness to them that are just really, really good. It's not a very dynamic smoke. It doesn't change up a lot, but it's box worthy just because it's so smooth. It has that graham cracker sweetness, and it just smokes so awesome with all this age on it. You can see if you look in the Stogies feed, it has that older La Flor wrapper on it with the red and the purple and green flower on it. It was awesome. This is the box, Will, I was telling you about earlier that comes with that Connecticut kind of wrapper cigar.
Right.
And the Robusto that was in this one is just awesome. Box worthy.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, I haven't had that one, but the Ligeros are great cigars. The single Ligeros are the ones I really like.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a couple more of the Flores that I got from that tent sale.
Yep.
You want to go again? I'll go again.
I'm done.
Oh,
I'm done.
I got a La Polina Maduro 52.
Yep.
This was a good cigar. It's interesting. This was, again, I didn't want to light up another Connecticut, but I wanted something kind of mild. So it's kind of going through my box of samples that I was working on for the show. And this one came up, and I did a little research on it. And, people described it as medium-bodied, so I lit it up. I would say that if you smoke Ashton aged Maduros, this will easily replace that smoke in terms of having a lot more flavor, a little touch of kind of spice to it, but being that medium-bodied Maduro smoke. La Polina hit the nail on the head with this one, dude. Not a whole lot of sweetness, not a whole lot of complexity. I would call it a fiver, but I think it's a really good Maduro kind of wrapper that they've got on this one. Have you smoked these, Will? Oh, Will, you there? I can see your lips moving, Will, but I can't hear you.
I hit the mute button by accident.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I smoked this. It has the San Andreas wrapper, and I think in this size, it's better. I've had it in the 40, the Petite Lancero size, and I thought in that size, the wrapper it gave me all those issues with the San Andreas that I don't like, where I thought the wrapper was too much. But I thought on this particular size, it worked a lot better there. So I would probably agree as well. That's it's the 52-year smoking, which I think is the Toro.
It's the Toro size, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say I'd put it as about a fiver as well.
Right. I think I picked up this one at the tent sale as well. I think I just got one of them just to try it.
Yep.
I also smoked a La Flor Dominicana from the Los Perfectos sample pack, which I think we talked about last week. And this is we did talk about it last week, and this is one of the unbandeds. And I want to say this was the unbanded on the right. So there's 5 cigars in this sample pack, and I want to say it goes La Flor Double Lajero, an unbanded, a Coronado, another unbanded, and a regular Lajero. Is that 5 or 4? I don't know. But anyway.
I was trying.
This was the one on the right, which has a slightly lighter wrapper. We have no idea what the wrapper binder filler is on this one. And this cigar was awesome. Awesome. I mean, complexity, sweetness, balance, construction in the whole Perfecto size really played into the whole flavor profile. This was another fight Chuck Norris for him. Just an unbelievable. If I had to guess, dude, I would say this, because of the sweetness that it had to it, quite possibly, and I could be completely wrong here, it wouldn't be the first time, but this very well could be a Cameroon wrap cigar. And if you look at it, it could almost be a Cameroon wrapper, right?
You could definitely make the argument with that, yeah.
Yeah. This one was awesome. And like I said, I want to say it was the one on the right in this Los Perfectos sampler. I encourage our listeners to pick some of those up. If you're not a huge La Flor fan, pick up this Los Perfectos sampler, because I'm telling you, the smokes that they have in there have a very wide range of appeal. And if you smoke a lot of cigars and you're fitting that Stogie Geek category, you got to get one of these samplers, because it's a lot of fun to smoke these different blends. It's a lot of awesome smokes at a great price, and really gives you a very fun smoking experience. For sure.
Yep.
You going to get one of these sampler packs, Will? Because I really want to see what you think of these.
Yeah, I got to get one of them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Another cigar, Will, and I'm going to talk about something a little controversial in our next cigar.
Okay.
And you can probably fill in some of the backstory here, or confirm or deny, or at least give a little more information maybe. It's a Villiger Cigars, the Cabaret Maduro. Did I say that right? Cabarete Maduro. Now, what I was told about this cigar was that Padron 1964, the wrapper on that cigar, that Padron sources that from somewhere. And that place they source it from, other people could source that from them as well. And that this cigar adorns the very same wrapper that the 1964 from Padron has on it. Have you heard anything about that, Will?
So I've heard the story that Padron sources the wrapper. I can't confirm that at all. Other than I've heard people say that, but I've also heard Padron say they grow their own wrapper. What I do know is it's a Nicaraguan Maduro wrapper. Yep. I believe that wrapper is from the same seed. I think that's something. If I had to infer, no matter what, wherever they're getting it from, it's probably from the same seed. I can't say if it's the same priming. I can't say if it's the same grade, but they're both Nicaraguan Maduro wrappers.
So also what this particular shop owner told me was that people that really like the 1964 from Padron like this cigar as well for about half the price. And while it's not, it's not a supplement, right? It's not the same thing, but it kind of fits in that same profile, and I would agree. It fits into similar. Like if you like the 1964 Maduro, you're probably going to like this cigar. And I thought it was a very good cigar as well. My overall rating on it is a 5. And I think if you're if you're in the mood for a good, well-priced Nicaraguan type cigar with that wrapper on it, this one will fit the bill. And I thought Villiger did a good job of blending the cigar. Have you smoked this one?
Yeah, I've smoked it. Now, the difference is more there's Dominican in this one as opposed to
The filler and binder are Dominican. Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
So and it's coming from Tabacalera Palma
Mm-hmm.
as well. The interesting thing about this cigar is when I first had it, I had pre-releases of it. Fabian, who was on the show,
Yeah.
it knocked me on my ass. It was strong.
Oh, really?
Right?
Yeah, so mine wasn't.
But when they came out,
Yeah.
They seemed to kind of come back to they weren't quite as strong.
Yeah, they aged out
So-
a little. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a cigar. I think it's a solid cigar. I mean, it's priced pretty well, right? I think the prices for a box of 21 go for about 150-ish or so. I'm
Yeah.
kind of pulling that. So they're not pricey. It's a very good Maduro.
Yeah, I think it's a good value smoke.
It's a value smoke. I think Villiger's done a nice job with these releases that they've done. These kind of new branded releases.
Yeah.
I'd probably put it as a 5. I would say if you do like that profile of the Padron, but don't go in there expecting to get a Padron, out
No,
of that.
certainly not. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
someone was just telling me that Gurkha just actually did a cigar called the Classic, and I smoked it. I smoked it a while ago, and I put that Gurkha in the same category as this one. In terms of I could see where it's a box press Maduro, and there's some commonalities, but the nuances as you smoke, it's going to be different. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's meant to. I don't think either of those cigars I mentioned are meant to duplicate the Padron.
Now, I didn't put this cigar in my Stogies feed. I didn't take a picture of it because I was smoking it while I was on the phone, and my phone is what I use to take the pictures of it. And I had done a couple of calls back to back and realized that I had finished the cigar because it was so freaking good. I smoked a Cohiba Robusto, and I want to say this one had to be 3 or 4 years old. I forget the exact date. Zedman in the chat was the one that actually sent it to me and would know what age his Cohiba Robustos were. Holy crap, dude. This cigar was amazing. The Cuban flavor profile on this one, it had like this sweetness component coupled with a little bit of that Cuban twang that had some nice cedar flavors. It was so much more, so many more dimensions to this Cohiba Robusto than you find in some of the other Cuban cigars we've talked about. Like, for example, the Quaba is kind of that one-trick pony, and it's a very good one-trick pony. Cohiba managed to get some different dimensions and flavors inside of this little Robusto. It is just so flavorful. I mean, I lit it up, and I think I actually said out loud, like, wow. I was really wowed by this cigar. Stogie Santa had given me an aged one, and it was just awesome. And this one was no joke, man. No joke. It was just unbelievable. It had to be my smoke of the week because it really, when a cigar really grabs your attention like that, it forces you to pay attention to the flavors. Like, you can't not pay attention to the flavors. Like, I was distracted by the flavors in this cigar where I was just compelled to focus on what was happening in this cigar because it was that good from start to finish. And I just, I wanted to run, next door and tell Todd, dude, you gotta check out this cigar because it's just so awesome. I was in there like heating up my lunch or something. And I was like, dude, I'm blown away by this cigar. Blown away.
I've smoked that cigar. It's a great cigar.
It is. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
I agree with you.
And they've all smoked great of all the Cohiba Robustos I've had, and they just did a great job blending that one. That's a Cohiba Robusto.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I agree.
If you're going to spend the money on Cohiba, This one for me, I think, may provide the best value for you, provided you can age them. Now, I've never had one fresh. Curious to see what they were like fresh.
Yeah, I always when I get them, I tend to smoke them very quick. I haven't put any away to age.
Mm-hmm.
Now you kind of got me just thinking that would be a good idea to do that.
They age very well.
Yeah.
I want to round out with some short smokes, Will.
Okay.
I don't know whatever the situation was. I was in my workshop later on at night. I think it might have been Tuesday night, Will, after our meeting.
Okay.
And so Zedman says that Cohiba Robusto was from last year. So clearly those cigars are awesome, regardless of how long you age them. So
Wow.
yeah, I want to say it was after our meeting on Tuesday night when it was kind of late, and I wanted a short smoke, and I had pulled 3 different, somewhat petite Coronas, very small size cigars from my humidor that I had kicking around that I was going to do as my short smoke. So I wasn't in there for another 2 hours, So I pulled out an Asylum 13 Petite Corona. Do they have a name for that size, Will?
I don't think there's a name that I'm aware of
Yeah,
at the top of my head.
Petite Corona. A Mayuzi weighs a ton, the bait fish. And a Letelier, not the Selection Special, just a Letelier Petite Corona. Initially, I lit up the Mayuzi weighs a ton, and I don't know what it is about that cigar, Will. When it first came out, and this is the bait fish, I'm not a huge fan of Mayuzi weighs a ton from Drew Estate. I smoked the original release of the bait fish. We talked about it here on the show, and I really liked it a lot. And it was limited to a specific shop. I want to say
New Havana.
New Havana, thank you. New Havana Cigars. Whatever cigar they got was awesome. Then they decided to release it as a regular release, and it seemed to me like a different cigar. Now, I don't want to point fingers, but that's just my opinion as a cigar smoker. So this is from the newer release of my Uzi Weighs a Ton Bait Fish, and it's probably got a couple of years of age on it. And when I lit it up, I got this overwhelming earth kind of flavor to it. So much so that it wasn't enjoyable to me.
That's what I'm noticing too.
Is that what you're noticing as well, Will? So I'm not crazy.
I'm even gonna go further. And I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this.
I know. I don't want to trash the cigar, but I couldn't
I'm not
finish
trashing it. When the original Uzis came out, they were actually unbanded.
Yeah.
And then they became banded. I don't know. I don't know if it's time that's done something to this cigar, but
Right.
those original unbanded Uzis were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm noticing that they just seem to be getting the flavors seem to diminish quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not the only one who said that about the bait fish. So I can always put it as maybe the aging factor just did not work.
Didn't work for
with this
cigar.
blend.
Yeah,
that's all I could say.
I couldn't finish it because it was just so
overwhelming earth.
And now, if you like overwhelming earth, you're gonna love this cigar. So I mean, don't discount it. Certainly, everyone's palate is different. And if you like that flavor profile, this is the cigar for you, without question. Then I lit up the Asylum 13 Petite Corona. I tell you what, Will, this is an awesome cigar. It's got a little
That's
bit
a 4x44.
Yeah, it's got a very crisp flavor profile to it. It's got a right balance of kind of spice and pepper. It's a kind of an ass kicker. I mean, this one's been kicking around my humidor for a while, maybe a year or so. And it still had a good strength profile to it. I really enjoyed it. It put out a ton of smoke for a Petite Corona, which I need. I don't know, for whatever reason, I need that in a Petite Corona. I need to feel like I'm smoking a cigar. And sometimes those smaller cigars don't just put out enough smoke for me. This one was pouring smoke like a champ, and it was really good. I would say this is Asylum 13. I would say it's maybe a box split.
That's actually that's actually not the 13. It's called the premium.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's a little different than the 13.
Okay.
And just as an FYI, that.
Oh, we lost our cigar.
That actually
sorry,
was on the cigar.
We lost you for a second there. We're still losing you. I see you now.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, you were saying
Okay.
so. This isn't the same as the Asylum 13. It's a slightly different blend.
It's a completely different blend. It's called the premium. So the 13s have they're more of a black band.
Yeah.
This is part of Asylum's premium line, which is kind of a line that falls under the radar. The 13s are the ones that are more, that's the ones they make the 80 ring gauges and
Yeah.
all that. This one is a 4x44. This actually made the Cigar Aficionado top 25. This size.
I can see that.
So it was
I
kind of
love
a
this size.
surprise, and it's kind of under the radar. This was one of the higher rated ones they got. They rated it at 94.
I wouldn't buy a whole box of these. I'd probably buy half a box of them, and it's kind of a niche. I think it was Maya that was saying, sometimes you're in the mood for a particular kind of cigar, a particular kind of spirit, a particular kind of food, right? I see myself reaching for these when I want to, not a long smoke, but when I want something that's got some punch to it, with good flavor. And this cigar fits that bill perfectly, so I'm saying box split.
Okay, that's probably what I would say for it. I haven't had that in a while, this cigar.
And they age well. I mean, I can see these with some age on them, really doing like upping to box worthy with some age on them for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of funny because we think of Asylum as the big ring gauge
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
And along comes this cigar, it gets the high rating, and now you're kind of speaking very highly of it as well.
The other one I smoked was the Letelier Petit Corona, and I smoked that this afternoon. This one had a sweetness component to it that was just awesome. Just awesome. It's tough, I think, in this small of a ring gauge to really pull out some of those sweeter flavors and those different flavor components because you only have so much tobacco to work with. But this one hit the nail on the head, and this is the larger of the three cigars. It's a slightly larger ring gauge, maybe a little longer cigar. So it's kind of like a fat Petit Corona, a little larger Petit Corona. And I'll tell you what, though, they did a really nice job with this Letelier. This would also be a box split for me as well. I don't often, and take that with a grain of salt, I don't often reach for the Petit Corona size. But when I do, I would definitely reach for the Asylum, and I would reach for the Letelier, and not think twice about, having 10 or 15 of those each in my humidor.
No, I love that Maduro blend.
It's really good.
I do too.
The sweetness, because again, it's not a coffee or espresso. There's a sweetness that comes through in that Letelier that does not come through in the Asylum, and does not come through in the Mayuzu Weighs a Ton. I hate to compare them together like that, but there is a sweetness component that I don't get from too many of those Petit Coronas.
It's a case study for Connecticut broadleaf how it should be.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And it packs a little punch. Like I said, I had to make sure I ate a meal before I.
They do. They've held their strength.
Yep. Cool. So I thought with winter coming around, that reviewing some short smokes would probably be a good thing to do. I would say if I had to, it's a real it's a toss up for me between the Asylum and the Letelier. I mean, they're two different cigars. I would say if you want something with a good amount of punch to it and some more bold flavors, reach for the Asylum. If you want something with a little more sweetness component, reach for the Letelier.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I smoked that Asylum. I mean, if hands down, I'd reach for the Letelier because I've smoked them more recently.
Yeah.
But I really want to go back now and smoke that 4x44 and see that again.
Yeah. If you want something a little more bold and in your face, you're going to reach for that Asylum.
Yep.
Cool. Well, that's all I had.
Okay, yep, I'm done too.
Yeah.
We had a lot of smokes this week.
We did. We're running a little short on time. You want to move the segment till next week, Will?
We'll move the segment till next week. What I want to do is
Let's announce the winners.
Let's announce the winner of the contest. And so the winner last week we raffled off a box. Well, not raffled off. We had a contest for a box of the Intemperance BA Revenge, which is the exclusive to Outland Cigar in Charlotte, who donated a box. Thank you to Outland Cigar. And I had 4 questions to answer. And basically, I got a lot of people wanted. First of all, Adam was the winner of it. He got all 4 right in the time frame that came in. So he was the winner. But I got a lot of people who wanted to know the answers to the contest. So I thought I'd read them off real quick. So there were 4 questions you had to get to qualify. The first question was, prior to merging operations with Skip Martin, what was the name of co-founder Michael Rosales' company? Most people got this. It was Adrian's Costa Rican cigars. So if you said Adrian's, it was good enough. So most people did know that. The second question, what country were the majority of the cigars for that company by Mike Rosales made in? Most people got that as well as Costa Rica. Michael was actually working with a Costa Rican factory. Now, the second two questions were a little more, people had a little more trouble with. What current Roma Craft branded cigar was sold under the Adrian's umbrella? So you had to know it was Adrian. So the answer to that question was the Cro-Magnon. The Cro-Magnon started out as Adrian's Cro-Magnon, and it was actually floating around before Roma Craft was even formed. In fact, Skip was selling them through his online shop for a while. So when it came over to Roma Craft, they rebranded it the Roma Craft Cro-Magnon. So there were a few people some people thought it was an Adrian's Maduro, but no, it's the Adrian's Cro-Magnon was the answer to that. And then the fourth question, I kind of read this last week, is there was another Roma Craft cigar that had a national launch at Outland Cigars, and the answer to that was the Intemperance BA Breach of the Peace, which is the rounded version of the Revenge, the 5x56. That was launched at Outland last October. So those were the four answers, and Adam's cigars are already in transit, so he should have them very soon.
Way to go, Adam.
Yep. Thanks to everyone. We had a lot of people enter, so appreciate that. And we should have some more contests coming up in the upcoming weeks.
Very cool.
Yep. Do we want to do a little of the housekeeping?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Mark Jr. couldn't be here for the last couple of shows. He's been on vacation, and he's dealing with some other stuff that's just prevented him from being on the show. I talked to him today. He's doing fantastic and is excited to come back and participate in the show as time allows for him. So look forward to Mark Jr. coming back on the show. Stogie Santa has decided not to come back and do the show. I think you'll see Stogie Santa come back and do maybe a couple special shows a year, perhaps, if we can convince him to do so. But I think he'll make an appearance. He was here a couple of weeks ago, just hanging out. So just know that we haven't. We still talk to those guys. We're all still friends, of course. But people have lives, and we adjust and accommodate and move forward as such. And for Stogie Santa, like I said, you might see him come back on the show, do a couple of cameo appearances, as it were. But so that's kind of how things played out.
Yeah, Stogie Santa will always be a Stogie geek. He is. When we say we're friends, this is dead serious. When I come up to Rhode Island, I'm still staying at his house. That's so. I mean, we talk regularly, and the show takes a lot of time up for us.
It does,
and we wanted to respect Stogie Santa's decision here. And we miss him. I know we're all gonna miss him, and I keep in touch with him. Keep in touch with the shop. We'll be still telling Stogie Santa stories. So I don't, we won't. We're gonna miss him, but he is gonna. I think he'll always be a part of this show going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, I made it down last week, and he was coaching some of the new employees down at Mr. J's Havana Smoke Shop, which is pretty funny to watch. And they got a lot of new smokes in there, so make sure you look up Mr. J's and give those folks a call to order up your smokes. Their tent sale was awesome, as we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. And they got some great smokes that have come in there as well. That's actually where I smoked the EP Carrillo the 5th. They had those in there, and their price on them was great. It was like $8 and change. So, it was kind of funny. He can tell just by looking at me whether or not I'm really wowed by a cigar or not. And I was sitting in there, and I was maybe a half or three-quarters through the cigar, and he's like, "What? He's like, you don't like that cigar?" And I'm like, I said, I like it. I said, I'm not like completely sold on it yet. So he can tell just by the look on my face whether or not I like a cigar. So. And
then me and him, like I said, we have this kindred spirit. We both loved it. I mean, we both. Yeah. When we came back from the show, that was the first reaction we had. Hey, did you smoke that EPC 5th?
Oh, and they have a really cool cigar in there. I talked about one of them Is it Crux? It's Crux cigars.
Yeah.
And they did an event with Crux, and Crux had sent them these really cool travel cases that were filled with cigars. And I tell you what, if you haven't tried Crux cigars, give them a shot. And if you can't find them anywhere, definitely call it Mr. J's, because it's a super cool cigar. They make some really cool sizes and some great blends. And Stogie Sand is a big fan of them. If that tells you, how good the cigar is. So
Yeah, they came. They had a very good trade show, and they make some very interesting sizes. They make some nymphas called Nymphomaniacs. I got to
that's what
talk
I
a few
like.
about them in my smokes of the week. I have a few of them. I've smoked the Passport, which is a solid cigar, and I can have one of those travel cases, and it's a great
It is.
travel case. You
It
can fit
is.
8 cigars. You could probably fit 10 thin ones in there. So it's a really nice travel case as well. So yeah, Crux is a start. I think you're gonna be hearing a lot from these guys. They had a big trade show.
Cool. Well, that concludes this edition of the Stogie Geek Show. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see everyone next week.
See ya. Ba 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 ba. You guys there?
Yeah, we're trying to run the Debonair commercial. Apparently, there was some technical difficulties getting that to be a smooth